Hello friends, today is 16th of August and I am here with today's analysis. We have celebrated our 77th Independence Day as we have completed 76 years of our independence. And I am here today with the Prime Minister's Independence Day speech. The Prime Minister Independence Day speech becomes important for us UPSC aspirants because this particular speech embodies a vision for the entire country. From this particular speech, there can be questions which can be framed in the prelims examination, although chances are less. But yes, in the mains examination, you can use a lot of, material information from this particular section. It can make your answer unique. It can make your essay unique. These will be some value addition points. Because this is what we are and this is what we are aiming for as a country. So that is why it becomes important to cover such kind of speeches. And hence, today's entire coverage will be related to the speech. We will be covering multiple topics, like he started his speech with paying homage to various freedom fighters. He paid homage to 4 freedom fighters. We'll see a bit of, detail about those 4. Those 4 become important for the next year's prelims as well as this year's mains. So, from that viewpoint, it is important. Then he finally spoke on the Manipur violence issue and said that the solution to such kind of situations is only peace. So, peaceful solutions should be sought for such kind of situations. He also highlighted that there is some good news coming from Manipur, that since the last few days the violence has subsided, but it is not an end to the violence. So we'll see in detail what he said over here. Then he highlighted the 3 Ds, that is democracy, demography and diversity. So these 3 Ds India is blessed with presently, and in detail we'll see what are these 3 Ds, how is India blessed. Then we have pathways given by India to the world. We can also interpret these pathways as philosophies. Philosophies with respect to climate change, philosophies with respect to geopolitics or global peace, or philosophies with respect to, renewable energy, philosophies with respect to healthcare. There are various kind of philosophies, or pathways which we have shown to the world, and the world has accepted it. The best part is this. So what these philosophies are, what do they mean, when did we propose them, all these details we'll look into in this topic. All this were highlighted in his speech. Then he talked about a new world order which is post-COVID. And he said that as post the World War II, there was a new order established in which, there were 2 power blocks. One was USA, the other was USSR. That was the Cold War era. Just like that, post-COVID also, a new world order has emerged. And in this new world order post-COVID, India is one of the superpowers. There are many superpowers, multiple superpowers, not only 1 or 2. There are multiple superpowers, but India is one among them. And the world, many countries, developing, developed, underdeveloped, all are looking towards India. And they consider India having solutions to, many problems of the world. Then on development, this is going to be, the major point of discussion, because the target set for India to be a developed country, a Viksit Bharat, is 2044. The target was set last year. Now, what progress has been done, what we have to do. A lot of talk will revolve around this development. He said that last year we kept a target for 2047, 25 years from 2022 to 2047, which he termed as Amrit Kal. Now 1 year completed into Amrit Kal, 24 years left from now. But he clearly said that our efforts in these 24-25 years will define or will decide our country for the next 1,000 years. Such a long-term vision he's keeping. He was comparing the next 1,000 years with the previous 1,000 years, which largely we have spent in slavery or under subjugation. So from those 1,000 years into subjugation to those 1,000 years into prosperity. So that vision he is keeping. But those 1,000 years of prosperity will only happen if the first 25 years from now or 24 years from now, we, do it diligently. But, big things meet challenges, and hence there are 3 challenges before India: corruption, nepotism, and appeasement. These are the 3 challenges which he highlighted, and we'll be discussing about them here. And finally, the last topic will be from 10th to 5th to 3rd largest economy we have become. So we are here 5th largest economy. Okay? And a vision is that in the next 5 years, we're going to become the 3rd largest economy. So this is going to be the, I would say, detail of the speech. Today's session is all about our Prime Minister's speech on the 77th Independence Day. So let's begin. So he started this speech by paying homage to some freedom fighters, and he clearly said that we should embody the vision, patriotism and courage as our freedom fighters did. As I said, that our efforts in the coming years, that is 24 years, they require not only just hard work, they require dedication, they require passion, they require sacrifice. Just like what our freedom fighters did for ourselves. If today we are seeing an India which is shining bright, which is growing at the fastest pace, which is the world's most populous country, which is the world's biggest democracy, we should definitely give credit to our freedom fighters. It was their vision which we are living today and which we will be living in the time to come as well. It was their sacrifice. So the similar kind of, I would say, enthusiasm we need to have in ourselves in order to fulfill our goal, that is Viksit Bharat or developed country. Now he mentioned about 4 freedom fighters. The first among them was Aurobindo Ghosh. We are also celebrating the 150th birth anniversary of Aurobindo Ghosh. He was born on 15th of August only. Now he was an extremist. We saw his role in the 1907 Surat split. Surat split was an event which happened in the INC, and he was in the Bal Gangadhar Tilak camp. But in 1910, he adopted spiritualism, and he was teaching spirituality to the youth, to the old age, to everyone, men, women, but with a flavor of patriotism. And that is why he was a freedom fighter, and he remained a freedom fighter till he died in 1950. He was lucky enough to see his country attain freedom. He was a poet, a philosopher, a spiritualist, a journalist. He also edited Vande Mataram. It was a newspaper. Now, next was Swami Dayanand Saraswati. He was a philosopher, a spiritualist, and most importantly, a social reformer during that 19th century India. 19th century India was struggling from various social evils. You will be studying, or you might have studied in modern history, people like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, Dayanand Saraswati, Mahadev Govind Ranade. All these people were, I would say, the champions of social reforms in the 19th century. Social evils like child marriage, sati pratha, widows were not allowed to remarry, the women were, confined within the 4 walls of their homes. They all worked for their upliftment. Swami Dayanand Saraswati opened or established Arya Samaj. One wing of Arya Samaj was Arya Mahila Samaj. which worked for the upliftment of women. Although it did not do much about the education of women, but yes, it was instrumental and successful in bringing the women out from the confines of their homes and discuss various social issues persisting in the society among themselves. Just imagine women were not allowed to do that also. So this was something which was an achievement of the Arya Mahila Samaj, which was under the Arya Samaj established by Swami Dayanand Saraswati. He was first to give the call for Swaraj and India for Indians. That is why he is known as the founding father of Swaraj. So, because he was the first one. Next, two female, I would say, eminent personalities in the history. One was Rani Durgavati. She ruled Gondwana from 1550 to 1564, and she was known because she defended her kingdom from the mighty Mughals. And she is revered in that area in down south because she was successful in doing so. The next is Mirabai. She was basically a Sufi saint known in the medieval Indian history, and she was a staunch follower of Lord Krishna. She was, I would say, disowned by her in-laws because she believed that Lord Krishna is her husband. And she has a remarkable impact on the Bhakti movement, which you will be studying in the medieval period. She was a spiritual leader, I would say. Now, on Manipur, he talked about the Manipur issue and called for a peaceful resolution as the only way out. And he also highlighted the fact that peace has been restored since the last few days. But this does not mean that the conflict is over or the situation is restored to normal. The situation is still very critical over there. The situation is delicate over there. One thing here and there, and the situation can worsen. He proposes or he believes that peace should be maintained, and till eternity it should be maintained, and the government is doing all possible efforts, whether the state or the center. And both are coordinatedly doing it. Now in Manipur, basically the conflict was between the Meiteis and the hill tribes. Hill tribes is a collective term which is used for, I would say, the Nagas, Kukis and all. Meiteis, which are dominant politically, socially, economically, and hill tribes not so dominant as Meiteis. Like around from 60 MLAs in Manipur, 40 belong to Meiteis. The chief minister himself is from this particular community. The High Court of Manipur actually ordered ST status for the Meiteis, which created the trouble for hill tribes which already had ST status. They said that now competition will increase, and why, or they questioned that why the Meiteis, which are already dominant politically, socially, economically, why do they need ST status? And then the conflict started. Apart from it, other conflict lines also emerged. It was believed that the chief minister, who belongs to the Meitei community, had launched an I would say, drug drive, and the drug dwellers or the drug traders largely belong to these tribal communities. So this particular conflict took that turn as well, and the situation got complicated and more complicated. There were many sections of the society, particularly women and children, who were the most vulnerable, and women were paraded naked, raped, and many I would say atrocities happened for them. According to certain reports in the newspaper, more than 50,000 FIRs have been filed alone in Manipur in the last few months. Anyways, let's be hopeful. Next is 3Ds. Now this 3D is not that 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D wala 3D. This 3D is democracy, demography and diversity. Democracy, we are the largest democracy in the world. No doubt about this fact. We might not be the oldest, but yes, definitely the largest. Democracy in India has met its own challenges. The biggest of them was in the 1970s, when from June 1975 till March 1977, there was emergency imposed, national emergency imposed in the entire country. And when in March 1977 emergency was removed, democracy had all the answers, because it was the first time when a non-Congress government was in power in the center. That was the Janata Party. So the people, the supreme, this principle was upheld. All the arms of the government, whether the legislature, the executive or the judiciary, have done their bit or have contributed their bit in upholding democratic ideals in our country. And it is our democracy which has earned us a lot of prestige globally. If this democracy will not be attached with us, our prestige will also be lowered. So, this is the tag attached with us, the largest democracy. We are also known as mother of democracy. Mother of democracy because despite of huge diversity, despite of many challenges which democracy has faced, democracy is still existing in our country and it is going strong. So, this is about democracy with which we are blessed. Demography. Demography per se is defined as the study of population or the scientific study of population. Now, when I talk about population, we are here also the largest, at least according to the UN estimates. Per se, the census is not out yet. It will be released somewhere next year. But yes, according to those reports, we are the most populous country and the most, or I would say the youngest country of the world also. We have the highest population in the working age group. Working age group is considered as 15 to 59. And the Prime Minister explicitly mentioned about the highest population under age 30 is in our country. Now, what is the significance of this young population? The young population is the most energetic population. It is one of the highest contributors in the economic activity, as well as one of the highest consumption is here in this particular age group. So, we have to channelize the potential of our demography in the right direction. We means the government. If the government is able to do so, demographic dividend definitely will be reaped. We cannot say that we have reaped demographic dividend. We are in such a situation that we can easily reap it, or we can reap it, because we have that population, the highest population in the working age group. So definitely we are blessed with that. Next is diversity. You talk about, religious diversity. It is the highest in India. All the 8 major religions of the world, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Jainism, Buddhism, Parsis, Jews, all are coexisting in India. You talk about linguistic diversity. You go 15 kilometers north, south, east or west, you will see the language changing in India. This is linguistic diversity. All are coexisting in India. You talk about food diversity or food habits. Multiple cuisines you'll see in India. You talk about festivals. The number of festivals being celebrated in India is unmatchable. No country in this world, entire world celebrates so many festivals. So overall, I would say cultural diversity in India is immense. It would be safe to say that India is the most cultural diverse or the most diverse country of the world. But the remarkable point here is, despite of this huge diversity, unity is the defining factor of our country. There are some forces which have kept us united. And the supreme force which has kept us united is none other than the Constitution. When India became independent, there were many predictions about India, particularly from various, I would say, political warlords or political, I would say, global stalwarts who considered themselves global politicians like Winston Churchill and all. Hardly 10 years India will survive as a country, and then they will be, balkanized, or they will be bifurcated, trifurcated. This was the prediction. And here we are, 76 years, celebrating our 77th Independence Day, have become the 5th largest economy, the fastest growing economy, the largest country in terms of population, and whatnot. We have earned this tag of shining star, all by staying united. And it was the sheer resolute will of the political leaders and above all, we the people. So, we all should be, I would say, crediting ourselves for this. Now, pathways given by India to the world, these are various philosophies which India has given to the world. And these philosophies embody solutions to various problems, to various existing problems. The first is renewable energy. So the solution which India gave is one sun, one world, one grid. OSOWOG. Now what does this mean? One sun, obviously we have one sun. From that one sun, we are generating renewable energy, that is solar power. Solar power generated anywhere in any country, if it is in surplus, it should be transferred to that one grid so that it could be transferred to anywhere in the world. So the entire world should be connected with that grid so that this electricity can be transferred. And obviously the, I would say, highest solar power potential of the countries is between the tropics, that is, just above and below the equator. And many, I would say, underdeveloped countries are over here. So if we are able to deliver this, then definitely, this is going to benefit the developing and underdeveloped world and the entire world largely. Then COVID-19, when it struck. Now we all know that, it is kind of an established fact that, this virus, coronavirus, came from a bat. But I would not say that, 100% you blindly believe on this fact, but largely many reports point towards this fact. But anyways, from wherever it has come, we should look forward for, I would say, the betterment of all the living organisms on this planet. Whether it be humans, the animals, the plants, the microorganisms. The biodiversity or the environment, or I would say the earth, this planet, should be a good place to live for all of them. Their, I would say, lifestyles or their habitat should be conserved, and food chain should be maintained properly. If this happens, then definitely one earth, one health will be achieved, in which we are talking about health of all. All means flora, fauna. In fauna, basically animals, microorganisms, man, everyone comes. Flora, the jungles and all. So this concept was given. Then geopolitics, one earth, one family, one future. We, I would say, promote this. This is basically promoting, I would say, the world is one family. Vasudev Kutumbakam. We are living in a global village. Your problem, our problem, our problem, your problem. Let's find a solution collectively. And this is the tagline of the G20 logo also. One earth, one family, one future. So, why divided? Let's be united. And since we have done or we have performed on this unity despite of so much diversity in our country, so definitely we are eligible to do this in the entire world. And if we are able to do this in the entire world, we definitely will be having that tag of Vishwaguru. So let's be hopeful. Next is climate change. In climate change, our Prime Minister in COP26 of UNFCCC, which happened in 2021, Glasgow, proposed mission life. Life here stands for lifestyle for environment. Now, what lifestyle we want to adopt? Simple, we want to adopt an organic lifestyle. What is organic lifestyle? It is simple. You're going out of the room, switch off the lights, AC, fans. Whatever amount of, I would say, clothes you want, you need, should be there. You should not over purchase things. This will lead to consumerism and added pressure on natural resources. You should be careful in, disposing of things. You should be concerned about environment conservation. You should be using, let's suppose, public transport more and more. This is organic lifestyle. And Mission Life is a campaign, a global campaign, I would say, which India aims to, I would say, run at the global level. And this global campaign, I would say, if there are 8 billion people in the world, if 1 billion people also follow this, small steps if we take, we definitely will have a major impact on our environment. Niti Aayog in India has taken the responsibility of implementing Mission Life in India. And slowly and gradually we aim to spread it to the entire world. And our target is to impact or to mobilize 1 billion people initially doing this lifestyle changes. The New World Order. Now when I talk about the New World Order, so our Prime Minister clearly said, just like after the Second World War, there was a New World Order where there were 2 superpowers. He did not go into that much detail, but he said that only. But I am elaborating on that there were 2 superpowers. One was USA and the other was USSR. There were 2 poles. The world was bipolar world at that time. And now there are multiple poles. Not 1, not 2. There are multiple poles. And India is one of the poles. And this New World Order has been established after the COVID wave or the COVID pandemic. India has emerged as one of the major, I would say, powers in the world presently. People look up to India now. Now, why has India emerged as a, I would say, power in the world or a major power in the world? The way we handled our COVID pandemic situation was very much, I would say, commendable, because there were very less fatality rates as compared to other countries. Despite being such huge population or despite being such densely populated country. Now, similarly, 100 years ago, although I know that there is no such comparison, but yes, I'm comparing on the basis of facts. 100 years ago, there was the Spanish flu, which happened in 1918 and was continuing somewhere in 1920. That was also a pandemic, and which claimed around 12 to 15 million lives in India according to our NCRT. And 1921 there was a census, and 1921 was the only census in the history of India where population has witnessed, I would say, negative growth rate. Negative growth rate means it was less than the previous census. Rest, in all the census you will see population has increased from the previous census. So this was our response. Second is our vaccination drive. This was robust, and our Prime Minister mentioned that we administered 200 crore vaccines, more than 200 crore vaccines. And he says that when I go out and world leaders ask, bhai, how 200 crore to is too much? Obviously, India's population is also this much, though, and that too very, I would say, swiftly. So he simply tells them that we have ASHA workers who have done that. No doubt about the fact, the dedication of ASHA workers for administering this COVID vaccine. No doubt about the fact. But we should also be crediting the digital public infrastructure, the COVID app and the Arogya Setu app, which made vaccination seamless. From booking vaccination till getting the vaccination certificate. Everything was instant and swift. So this is also commendable. Next, our cultural assets like yoga. Yoga has gained a lot of prominence because yoga helps us build immunity, and this was a wide accepted fact. And post COVID, many people across the world have started practicing it. He not only limited to yoga, but he went on to speak about Ayush as well. Ayush is Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani and Naturopathy, Siddha and Homeopathy. Now we have a separate ministry of Ayush since 2014. These are forms of medicine, alternate forms of medicines. Like one is allopathy, English form of medicine, and these are other forms of medicines. Out of Ayush, AYUS, Ayurveda, Unani, Yoga, Naturopathy, Siddha. These are Indian systems of medicine. Homeopathy is a German system of medicine. But we have included homeopathy here with Ayush. So a lot of treatment of Ayush is also available in India for various diseases. And now the government has also started issuing Ayush visas to people, foreign nationals obviously, who want to come and get treated for various diseases under Ayush. Now on development. So target year for development or target year for being a developed country, 2047. Time left from now, 24 years. So what is Amrit Kal? It is the time period in which India has to become a developed country. Now what is the start date of Amrit Kal? 2022, last year, as envisaged by the Prime Minister. So since last year he kept this target 2047 and the Amrit Kal started last year itself of 25 years. Now we have crossed 1 year into the Amrit Kal. Now 24 years are left. So 1 year has been over. How will we become developed? Now this is something which is very, very important. Now there is no one formula or single formula for becoming a developed country. You have to focus on multiple streams simultaneously. And most importantly is you need to keep the nation first. This nation first strategy has to be there. Like for example, you want to become an entrepreneur. You become an entrepreneur, very good. You register your firm, you start doing business, you start generating jobs. But if you think of evading taxes, then you are not keeping your nation first. You should be a responsible citizen there also. fulfill your responsibilities towards nation building as well. Whatever action you are taking, you should consider the fact that what benefit it will bring to your country and countrymen. If every one of us keeps this, I would say, ideology, then maybe before 2047 we'll be there. But this has to be embodied. This philosophy has to be embodied within us. This spirit has to be embodied, I would say. Nation first. Next is economic development. It should be uniform across all regions. There should not be regional disparity because, see, we've witnessed regional disparity in the past. It is generally believed that Western India is more developed as compared to the eastern part of India. Although there are many reasons behind that, not going into those reasons, but it is harmful for the entire country at large. So we should be focusing on overall development. We should be focusing more on the underdeveloped pockets like Northeast, the Red Corridor. We should be more focused on tier 2, tier 3 cities. If we focus there, this will reduce migration, concentration of population in the already developed cities. And this increased pressure of migration creates a lot of pressure in these cities. Sanitation pressure, drainage pressure, healthcare pressure, education pressure. So all these will happen. The overall development will lead to a lot of solutions across all sectors. Primary sector, he talked about agri-tech, other support like urea subsidy, PM Kisan and all. Secondary sector, he said, particularly mentioning about the steel industry, that it should not only be the industries of India, but they should be the industries of the world. We should be supplying to the world. When he talked about the tertiary sector, he talked about technological advancements and the skillful Indians who are taking advantage of these technological advantages or advancements. So these should be revered. Then he talked about startups. He said that in the startup ecosystem, we are among the top 3 countries in the world. Startups are very much required and essential in today's time because these are job creators. And we, according to the UN estimates, are the world's most populous country. We have the people, we have the demography, but we need jobs for them. So startups will give them jobs. If the startups will give them jobs, then definitely economic activity will increase. Infrastructure development. He talked about rail, road, waterways, ports, which are being rapidly developed. He said that we keep target dates. Before the target dates, generally we are completing all those infrastructure projects. And yes, India's face is definitely changing. We see the number of Vande Bharat trains running. We see the number of expressways being developed. We see the number of 4 lanes, 6 lanes highways being developed. We see the number of terminals being developed in the ports. The Sagarmala project being developed. There's immense development of infrastructure all across the country, including the border infrastructure. We needed this push somewhat 10 years ago, but since we have got it now, so we should keep it going. We should also keep in mind that this infrastructure should be sustainable, environmentally sustainable. Then poverty reduction. He talked about poverty reduction and he said that in the last 5 years of my service as Prime Minister, more than 3 crore people have come out of poverty, and this is my biggest achievement. This must be his personal biggest achievement, but according to some, other, I would say, indexes like the National Multidimensional Poverty Index, which is released by the Niti Aayog, in the last 2-3 years, or I would say since 2015-16, there has been a reduction of around 10 percentage points of poverty. Like in the 2015-16 multidimensional poverty index, around 25% of India's population was multidimensionally poor. Now it is around 15% poor. So this also highlights about the fact that the poverty is reducing in India. Women-led development. When I talk about the women-led development, he was talking about women SHGs and women SHGs participating in agri-tech. He said that we will be training the women's in the women SHG for operating drones which will be used in agricultural sector. And he said that we will be doing more about the women SHGs, developing women SHGs, training them, helping them financially. Many schemes will be rolled out for them. He also talked about increased participation of women in science, technology and mathematics sector, STEM, which we called it. And he said that we have more women participation as compared to male participation in this. But definitely we have increased participation by women. Then next point which he mentioned was keeping inflation in check. Now if we do not keep inflation in check, so those people who have come out of poverty will go back into poverty. There will be no use, or there will be no, I would say, benefit of bringing them out of poverty if inflation levels will be high. The last year we witnessed the highest levels of inflation. The inflation levels were beyond the permissible limits. Permissible limits by RBI is 2 to 6%. But it was beyond that. But if we compare inflation in India and inflation all around the world, inflation in India was well within the limits. He said that we are increasing trade with the world, but we are also making sure that we are not importing inflation from them because they have inflation in their countries. There's no point importing an inflated product from them. It is always better to become Atmanirbhar and help them also, means export those cheap products to them. This was his take on inflation. Now when he talked about border security, he said that people in India feel now more secure. There are no or less Fidayeen attacks, less terrorist attacks, less, I would say, bombings. And then he went on to mention about the Vibrant Village program. He said that the Vibrant Village program, earlier the Vibrant Villages were considered as the last mile villages or the last villages of India. But he said that we have changed the perception. We have said that these are not the last villages, these are the first villages when you enter India. And we have to develop them accordingly. Because these are the, I would say, gateway to India. And if the gateway is not good, it will definitely have a negative impact on us. So he invited multiple, I would say, sarpanches of these villages to this Independence Day program also yesterday. Then on geopolitics, he said that we want to be the voice of the Global South. Global South, as earlier also explained by me, but yes, in brief, I'll tell you, Global South is all the developing and underdeveloped countries of Asia, Africa, and South America. And in G20 also, we want to be their voice. And overall, in other multilateral forums also, we want to be the voice of the Global South. Actually, it is the Global South which looks up to India as its champion. We are the Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra is basically the world's friend. We have this policy of all alignment. We are friends with Russia. We are friends with USA, with EU, with South America, with Africa, with Australia, with ASEAN, with Japan, and not with Pakistan. And China's India-China friendship is also into questions. But yes, we have deep trade relations with China. So, we are a Vishwamitra, we are the global friend to everyone, and this global friendship of ours will lead to Vishwamangal, means welfare of the world. Our friendship is targeting welfare, our welfare and their welfare, mutual welfare. It is not one-sided, and this has been tested or this has been proven by India time and again, and that is why people look up to India. Because India is a friend indeed actually. Now, next is governance. He said that when I came in 2014, you gave me this task to develop India. And I made sure to develop India through reform, perform, and transform. He reiterated these terms many times. Reform, perform, and transform. And he definitely did that. Digital India program is one such example. He says that when I go abroad, people ask me about the successes of Digital India program, because Digital India program embodies the digital public infrastructure of the country. And the backbone of digital public infrastructure is Aadhaar. With the usage of Aadhaar, the delivery of services to the people have been so efficient. You cannot even imagine. Actually, we could not imagine when Aadhaar was being rolled out that one day vaccines will be administered with the help of Aadhaar. Cowin app, Arogya Setu app, it was all linked to your Aadhaar card. Then only you went for vaccines. You got the vaccines done, and when you came out of that vaccine center, you had the vaccine certificate in your portal. That was all digital public infrastructure which happened due to Digital India. Many developed countries also in the world are asking about this technology. Our UPI is doing a lot of talks around the world. That is all Digital India. He also said that we were successful in weeding out 10 crore ghost beneficiaries. Ghost beneficiaries are those beneficiaries which actually did not exist. But on their name, the subsidies were being released. All the other entitlements also were being released. But they were consumed by the Netajis and the Babus. Corruption. But again, with this Aadhaar, actually there is this trinity called as JAM Trinity. Jandhan, Aadhaar, Mobile. Jandhan, bank account, Aadhaar, unique identity, mobile, which is linked to your Aadhaar as well as your bank account. This Jandhan Aadhaar Mobile Trinity actually identified or helped us identify the actual beneficiaries and provide them benefits directly in their bank accounts. He said that government saved so much of rupees that the allocation to the state governments by the central government has increased manifold due to it. The allocation for welfare schemes for the people by the central government has increased manifold for it. The government has saved a lot of money which the government is investing on infrastructure projects. You might have heard the Road and Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari frequently talking that we don't have, dearth of money. There's no lack of money. You give me the project, I'll do it. This is all the money saved from this. This is all good governance. Then better delivery of services by carving out new ministries like Ministry of Jal Shakti, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. Then he talked about various schemes. First was the Jal Jeevan Mission, which aims to provide piped drinking water to all the rural households by 2024. How much? 55 liters of drinking water or 55 liters of piped water per day per person should be available, and through a functional household tap connection. This is the Jal Jeevan Mission. That is why Ministry of Jal Shakti carved out so that this could happen. Many states presently are receiving, this much amount of water, or the rural areas are receiving, every household in the rural areas are receiving this much amount of water. The next scheme highlighted was Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana. This is about the generic medicines. Now, what are generic medicines? Generic medicines, basically you have those branded medicines. Let's suppose a packet of branded medicines costs you 100 rupees, which contains, let's suppose, X salt. Now, generic medicines will also contain X salt, but they do not have that branding. And they will be available to you for 10 rupees, 15 rupees, 20 rupees, like this. And where are these available? These are available on the Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Pariyojana Kendras. These Kendras presently are 10,000 in the country, which the Prime Minister said that they will be increased to 25,000. So this is something which is very, very beneficial. I have personal experience with respect to this, and yes, it works. Then Ayushman Bharat Yojana. Ayushman Bharat Yojana basically is an integrated scheme which aims at developing the primary healthcare sector as well as for secondary and tertiary healthcare sector. Insurance is given. Insurance worth 5 lakh rupees per household per year is given. That insurance covers everything. Your hospital expenses, your post-hospital expenses, even your traveling expenses to the hospital. Medication, everything. That is very, I would say, beneficial. Even the private hospitals are impaneled in this. Then next is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. This has two verticals. First is urban, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana urban. Second is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana rural. Both schemes are performing well. Actually, both schemes were till 2022, but both have been extended till 2024. So, many houses have been constructed, delivered. Many are under construction, will be delivered this year, next year. And finally, he talked about Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0. Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 aims at creating garbage-free cities in which the mountains or the mounds of garbage, they have to be wiped off. Waste to energy plants are being set up, and hence the Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 talks about circular economy. So he said that we are well within the time limit to meet the targets. He also said that we will be releasing one policy or one yojana that on the Vishwakarma Day, that is the Vishwakarma Yojana, for all those people who are largely working in the unorganized sector. He mentioned about a few categories like the Raj Mistri, the mason workers, the barbers, the beauticians and all. For them, this Yojana will be there. One thing which we can predict as of now, what will be there in this Yojana is, some social security, I would say, facilities, some pension facilities for them, or easy availability of credit, or I would say health insurance. These kind of social security will be there for them. And, the details of this Vishwakarma Yojana, when this, Yojana will be released, we will be reading at that time. Don't worry, we'll be covering this when it gets released. But as of now, it is an announcement, so we are dealing with that accordingly. Now, the three challenges before India. First is corruption. Now, I gave you a glimpse that how corruption actually, impacts you negatively. Corruption takes away, I would say, the original beneficiaries' entitlements. The original beneficiaries, we the people. And where do the entitlements go? To the powerful, to the greedy. And the most impacted are the poor common people, due to which poverty is still persisting, low levels of education, low levels of awareness is there. And those who have done the corruption, eaten the amount, those people are living in lavish houses, riding luxury cars. This has created a lot of inequality in our society. We need to bridge this gap. And that is why he said that everything will be implemented transparently. He also credited various civil servants working across the country day in and day out. Now, corruption incidences have drastically come down. But we would not say that it has been zero. He clearly said that on this front, a lot of people might be angry with him. But he said that let them be angry. I'll fight till my last breath against corruption. So this basically is a very, I would say, important, or I would say a very, I would say a certain thing which is eating our country from the inside, making us hollow. Although the pace has been drastically reduced, but it should go away. It is like this. Next is nepotism. Although this is a bit political, we as aspirants should not be getting into this, because he was taking, references of a political party. There also nepotism is being followed, and we all know which political party he was talking about. But he says that nepotism in any field, in politics, in judiciary, anywhere, in private sector, will overlook the merit. And when merit is overlooked, your efficiency to grow will be compromised. That is why nepotism is a big no. Appeasement. When you go and you want to make other people happy, then again you take the route of corruption, or you take the route of inefficiency. And by simply appeasing others, you do the work. Whereas the actual work is not done and things are compromised. So we need to overcome these three challenges if we want to be there in 2047. One thing which I personally think is that this 2047, the target year, we can be here before this year. But there are certain conditions. First is this. Second is we the people, if we keep the nation first. And he highlighted this fact as well. He said that, we as government have done many things before the target date. Like whatever targets we set for ourselves with respect to climate change in 2030, we'll be achieving it. We've already done it in 2021-22. Now we've kept new targets. He was talking about INDCs, intended nationally determined contributions. He says that whatever targets we keep for infrastructure development, we deliver it before time. This is the new India. And he just hoped that this target also we deliver before time. We need to overcome these challenges for that. Now, from 10th to 5th to 3rd largest, we have reached here. 2014, India was the 10th largest economy. 2022, we became the 5th largest economy. We surpassed UK. And by the next 5 years, that is by 2027-28, we have predicted to become the 3rd largest economy. USA, China, India. And again, our efforts definitely will matter. The way we respond to challenges definitely will matter. Our spirit definitely will matter. Women empowerment definitely will matter. Security situation again definitely will matter. Multiple things will matter. Then only we will be here. And if we consider all these things which matter, then maybe 100 years down the line, we will be here. So, just be hopeful. Finally, he ended his speech with this powerful poem. If you can memorize this poem, mention it in your essay, then obviously it should be in context. So, this poem goes like, Chalta chalata kaal chakra, Amrit kaal ka kaal chakra, Amrit kaal ka हाल चक्र, सबके सपने अपने सपने, पनपे सपने सारे, धीर चले वीर चले, चले युवा हमारे, नीति सही रीति नहीं, गति सही राह नहीं, चुनो चुनौती सीना तान, जग में बनाओ देश का नाम. So this was the powerful poem and the speech delivered by our Prime Minister yesterday. I hope this was useful. and make it useful in your mains examination. Thank you. For now, we'll be here tomorrow with more such content. Thank you. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.